Thanks for being here. I am Jay Baer, and this is the summary of The Time to Win. We care about time more than ever. And today, 2/3 of customers say that speed is as important as price. Now, speed has always been an important component of the customer experience, but I would argue that today, speed is in fact the most important element of customer experience. Of course, personalization is important, but you'll excuse a business forgetting your name if you get it fast. And of course, empathy is a big part of customer experience, but you're okay with a bit of rudeness if you can get what you need right now. So there's no doubt you've heard the old business chestnut, good, fast, cheap. Pick any two. You know that saying, right? Well, today the rules have changed. You can decide whether you want to be fast and inexpensive or fast and high quality, but you better be fast. Fast is no longer negotiable. This is because largely we are in a society now that interprets speed as caring. Now, I'm not suggesting this is right or wrong, but it is absolutely true that we interpret speed as caring. More than half of all customers have hired the first business to respond, even if they weren't the least expensive, because we say, well, geez, if it takes them a long time to get back to me before they have my money, how long will it take them to get back to me once they already have my money? So in a competitive situation, it is very, very important that your organization is first. But it's not just about new customer acquisition. Speed also drives retention as well as net new revenue. In my research, The Time to Win, I asked many, many thousands of American consumers, when is speed important to you? And the answer is pretty much always. If you look at the data here, 83% of customers say speed is important when they need help with a problem, but 67% say speed is important when they're finding information about a product, and at every step in between. Literally at every step of the customer journey, speed is important, whether they're a prospect or a current customer thinking about a renewal. But I don't want you to think that the takeaway of The Time to Win is that you just have to be faster all the time, because that is overly reductive. It's overly simplified, and it's not entirely true, because speed at all costs actually costs. You can, in fact, be too fast. And when you do that, when you are actually too rapid, what happens is your customers get confused. They get concerned. They say, well, how could they possibly execute on that quickly? Like if you've ever used a chat bot, you've typed in the thing, if you need help, and then you get a response like that, you're like, wait a second, that's either a robot or it's a human just copying and pasting. And either way, your confidence in the solution diminishes. So what you need is what I call the right now. And the right now is the perfect amount of elapsed time in every customer interaction. It's like the Goldilocks approach to responsiveness. So in the Time to Win presentation and the Time to Win mini book, I give you a 6-piece framework, the Time to Win framework, for how to actually lead with speed, how to outperform your competition over the next 2 to 3 years by focusing more intently on speed and responsiveness and kind of dialing in that idea of the right now. The first piece of the framework is to conduct what we call a got it audit. A got it audit asks you to understand, well, how long does it take you today to do common customer interactions? And most business people simply don't know. They have some vague sense of how long it takes, but they don't really track it. They don't pay attention to it. So I asked you in the got it audit to figure out, okay, well, how long does it take a customer to get an estimate or a quote? How long does it take to get delivery set up or make a payment or get a question answered? All the other key interactions that you have in whatever business that you're in, you have to know how long this actually takes in reality in order to then begin the process of optimization to dial in that right now approach. The second piece of the framework is to answer before you are asked. Answer before you were asked. It's common that most business people, including you, I'm sure, already know the questions that they get asked most often by customers and prospective customers. So why don't you just proactively answer those questions before customers have to ask them? So this kind of falls into the category of much more comprehensive, frequently asked questions, pushing questions and answers out to customers and prospects at key points of your relationship, not waiting for them to ask, but if you already know they're probably thinking about it, pushing out the answer ahead of time. Third piece of the framework is to answer without an answer. I love this one, and I use it in my personal life and my business life all the time. It's very common that people will get a question and you don't know the answer to the question. So you have to go look it up or ask somebody. And then once you've gotten the answer, then you respond to the person who asked the question. It happens in business. It happens with your kids. It happens with your friends. It happens all the time. Don't do that. A much better approach is to answer even if you don't have an answer. So somebody asks you a question, you say, great question, so good. In fact, I got to go look up the answer. I'm going to go do that, and then I'll get back to you. So when you reply instantly, even if you don't have what they need, it takes it off of their mental checklist. It makes them understand, oh yeah, somebody's on top of it, and it makes the whole interaction seem much, much more speedy. The next piece of the framework is to set expectations. And this is critically important because how customers perceive your speed is actually more important than speed itself. This is because all our thinking around responsiveness is driven by expectations and alignment with expectations more than actual reality. Now, this is true not only of responsiveness, but actually the totality of customer experience. Customer experience is actually fake. All it is the difference between expectations and reality. Customer experience is the difference between what your customers think will happen and then what actually occurs. And speed is a big part of that. So if they think it's going to be fast and then it's slow, now they're really upset. But if they think it's going to be slow and it's slightly faster than that, then they're really, really happy. The idea of under-promising and over-delivering is still incredibly valid even today. Fifth piece of the system is to close down uncertainty gaps. And this is incredibly important because today business has gotten complicated. Even more simple businesses have gotten complicated to the degree that customers are often confused. Now, an uncertainty gap is the difference between what you know about your operations and what the customer knows. And in some circumstances, that uncertainty gap is huge. And if they're confused, it creates anxiety. And anxiety keeps people's money in their pockets. So one of the very best things you can do is give them clues along the way as to what's happening. So this goes into the whole premise of like status updates. Domino's Pizza Tracker, great example, right? You know the whole process. Oh, they're putting mushrooms on. It's going in the box. It's in the car. It's almost to my house. There is no uncertainty. There was no anxiety during that entire process because Domino's is proactively closing down those uncertainty gaps, and you can and should do the same. The last step of the time to win framework can make you a lot of money. Can make you a lot of money right now, and it's called to offer a fast pass. Fast pass is when you allow customers to skip the line. Charge them more to not have to wait. And in my research, we tested the efficacy of Fast Pass, and the numbers were really quite extraordinary. In fact, 1 in 4 customers will pay as much as 50% more to never have to wait. If you give your customers time, they will give you money. But if you cost your customers time, it will cost you money. Friends, this is, in fact, the time to win. And based on my research and my work with hundreds and hundreds of corporations and businesses of all shapes and sizes, I can tell you that one of the best things you can do to outperform your competition for the next 2 to 3 years is to focus more intently on speed and responsiveness than they are. That's the time to win system. Thanks very much. There's more resources below. If I can help you in any way, please reach out, jay@jbaer.com.